Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Unfiltered Perspectives. I'm Tara.
I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Leslie.
Today's conversation is about something that we all experience to some degree, feeling both blessed and sometimes at the same time bitter. You might be in a place where you genuinely feel thankful, but also you're exhausted, you're disappointed, or carrying something that is heavy or unspoken. And if that's you, you're not alone in that. We're talking about what it means to hold both joy and frustration at the same time and why that doesn't make you ungrateful or unfaithful. It just makes you human. This is Unfiltered Perspectives, where real talk leads to real growth and every perspective is valued.
That's a great topic, Tara, and always a great introduction into our topic. And it's interesting because I say no matter what what we're talking about, it seems like I've either just gone through something or am going through it at the moment. But it is not strange or unheard of that you can be thankful and I guess blessed and still feel somewhat frustrated at whatever circumstances you may be in the midst of at
Mm-hmm.
the same time. That's just, as I hate to say the cliche that everybody's saying these days, that's just lifing.
Mm-hmm.
That's just lifing. Things happen and you don't forget that you're blessed, but things are still happening around us every single day. And it can be challenging.
Mm. What about you, Kim? Do you ever experience that duality of emotion?
I think all the time. I think one of my sort of orientations to life is that things are always changing, but also, the good resides with the bad. So, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
Hmm.
Can you think of either of you think of a time when everything looked good on the outside, but inside you might have been still struggling with something?
I don't know if at the moment, I mean, I can think of a million things, but not any particular circumstance. I know that oftentimes I go through things and I have certain people in particular that remind me, I don't know why you're worrying. You always land on your feet. God always comes through for you. And he does. And it's not that I forget it, but it's just hard to focus on that when you're right in the middle of a situation.
Hmm.
You're right in the middle. When you're in it, that's what you're focused on. Like, how am I going to get out of this situation? How am I going to handle this? How am I going to get through this? Whether it's an illness, whether it's a financial situation, whether it's something with your children. In that moment, that's really all your energy is going into in that moment. But other people have seen you come through similar trials, similar tribulations. They've seen you come out on the other side. And so those are the people that are reminding you, God is going to get you through this thing. You have to have faith. And they're that constant reminder. And then when you come through it, you want to kick yourself for even worrying because he has always been there. He has always brought you through. So there has been many times. But I'm telling you, when you're right there in the midst of it, you forget that he's in the midst of it with you.
Mm.
I think part of the way that I approach that is my belief is that, so part of the way that God is coming through for us is through our own work and struggle. And so, that expression, God helps the one that helps themselves or something like
Mhm.
that. So, like,
Mhm.
part of how God is working is through my struggling.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Okay, so another way that I say it often is that we are God's hands in the world, right? So I don't know how I would say it other than part of the way that God works is through me doing the work. Not
Mhm.
only me, right? But also like my effort is part of God's work in the world.
Okay. When I was thinking about this topic, the thing that kept coming to my head was, you know how people say things like, you're blessed, so you shouldn't complain. You have this, so you shouldn't complain. Or even like in like a church setting, they're like, you have to stay positive, and God is with you and all. I mean, that's a good thing, and I do believe that that's a good thing and that God is there with you, but I do sometimes think that sometimes churches or family culture, whatever, can push a level of toxic positivity. Do you know what I mean? If you're blessed, you shouldn't feel bitter. You don't have that right to feel bitter because you have this other thing going for you or you have more than somebody else has. And so I
No,
don't
I
think
get it. Thank
y-
you.
I don't think that it's a push or an intentional making you feel guilty for feeling what you feel, but I think that that kind of can be the result of that, of being told those, given that particular message. You have to stay, there's a pressure to stay positive. But I think what that does though is it tells us that our other feelings aren't valid.
Mhm.
Like we don't have that right. And so
Mhm.
it like shuts down or makes you want to shut down these other things or not express them and just hold them in, and which I don't really think is healthy.
Mhm.
Um
Yeah, I get what you're saying because my next question was going to be, do you ever feel guilty for having those doubts or frustrations or being honest with other people about how you feel because of the guilt that's put on you? Like, how could you feel this way or that way when you should be feeling blessed and appreciative?
mhm.
You know what I mean?
I do, and
Yeah.
I do, and that's the thing, how you should feel, which indicates that one feeling is better than another, and I don't think that that's true. I think that things like that, like gratitude and disappointment or gratitude and pain, I think that they can coexist. I think that they serve different purposes as far as our growth is concerned. One thing I thought of, and gratitude grounds us, while the other thing, disappointment or pain, can grow us. And what that means, I don't want to call it negative because it's not necessarily negative, it's just different. It shows us the things that in our lives that are unmet, that are in need of healing, that need attention. And when we allow ourselves to learn from those things or to address those things, acknowledge it, then that helps us to grow. So I don't think that we only have to experience the good or the positive or things that don't cause us hurt in order to live, in order to grow. I can't think of another way to say it. I don't wanna keep using the word grow, but I can't think of another way to say it.
Yeah, but it's appropriate.
Mhm.
It's fitting. So yeah.
So you won't be hanging a sign that says, "Only positive vibes here."
And that's funny because in the past, I have done that. I put a sign up in Matthew's room when he was younger that said that, positive did you ever look in his room? "Positive vibes only allowed here," or something like that. So, I mean, but yeah, I've because
So what helped
you're
you
conditioned to think
that?
that only the positive is valuable and that the negative or the things that are not necessarily so positive only drag you down and push you down into this abyss of pain or whatever, and that you can't come out of it. But
Mhm.
that's so not true.
So how did you get from the positive vibes only to where you are now?
I started thinking about how if I only experience positivity, at some point that's gonna feel watered down. I won't recognize why did I say it like that? I don't recognize when I think when you only have the good things, you don't necessarily value them as much.
Mhm.
I think that
Mm,
when you only have the good things, you don't you f you almost feel like there's no place else to go.
Mhm.
mm,
And also
mm.
life is not just a bowl of cherries. Life is not just only good things. You are going to experience sometimes
Yeah.
things that don't feel so good. And it's okay to acknowledge that you're feeling these things. It's okay to go through them. It's okay to work through them, figure out how, why it makes you feel that way and what you can do, if possible, to bring yourself out of that, what lessons you can learn from this for yourself and for other people.
Mhm. Yeah.
And not negate a part of how you feel because you feel this way that other people may not approve of. Doesn't make it wrong, doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got through it or a different perspective by thinking about the wholeness of emotion, everything that comes together to make me, that makes me react the way I react and think the way I think and live the way I live and change what I want to change
Mhm.
or what I think needs changing.
I know I'm gonna botch this up. I know there's a saying relative to being able to how would you appreciate the sunshine if you didn't have the rain or something something like that? You know what I'm
Mhm.
talking about?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you were talking, that's what I was thinking about. If you never had the rain, how would you appreciate the sunshine or something? But
Mhm,
yeah, that's what I was thinking about when you were talking.
mhm,
If
and I
everything was always a bed of roses.
mhm,
Yeah.
and I'm not just even just thinking about, like, experiencing one and then the other, they don't have to be, like, sequential. You can
Mhm.
feel
Mhm.
them all at the same time. I'm so thankful, I'm so grateful, but, I'm tired.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm happy for this life that I have, but man, I don't wanna have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day to have it.
You telling me. You telling me at 4:45 or 3 o'clock with these dogs. Yes. But
What
yeah,
about what about you guys? How do you deal with, like, these emotional contradictions?
these emotional roller coasters that I call them. I don't even know that I have an answer. How do I deal with them? One at a time, daily. J- j- there isn't even an answer.
Mhm,
Some days are better than others. Sometimes I don't deal with them well.
mhm,
It's
Yeah.
trial and error. It's a lot of things. It's a
Yeah.
lot of things. A
but
support system, scripture,
mhm,
deep breathing,
mhm,
whatever it takes.
yeah. What about you, Kim?
I think my approach into this is slightly different. It's less I so I think I hear you saying I can't fully appreciate the good unless I also let in and appreciate the bad. The way that I approach this is not so much about appreciating the good or the bad, but my experience of life is that bad things happen and that good things happen.
Mhm,
And so it's not so much about appreciating one or the other, and it's about acknowledging that there is good and there's
Yeah,
bad,
yeah.
right? So I have on one of the tattoos that I have tattooed on my arm is the yin yang symbol for
mhm,
balance. And it's part of what I understand as a truth of the world, right? That there is good and bad, there's good and evil, there's positive and negative. And I think I would say that we don't get one without the other. And
mhm,
so how I'm like doing my like folding my hands as I say this. So I don't have to like make any special effort to like appreciate that there is bad in the world. My experience of the world says, yep, there is plenty enough bad to go with the good. I try to recognize both of them to live more fully.
mhm,
One of the ways that I do this, right, is through my meditation practice. My favorite place to meditate to do this is at the ocean,
mhm,
which gives me perspective, right? It just gives me this grand perspective of my small place in the world, that the world doesn't center around me, that good and bad is flowing around me. Does that make sense? So it gives
Mhm.
me some sense of perspective about my place in the world, what I can control in the world, and what I can't. And it reminds me to do the things that I can, right?
mhm.
Address the things that I can, work on the things that I can't, and to try to let go of what is not in my control.
I have a friend that constantly tells me that, Kim, that to let go of what I can't control
Mhm,
and that I'll have more peace. But, how do you really do that though?
mhm,
How do you get yourself to mentally and emotionally and physically let go?
mhm.
Mm,
You know?
yeah.
I'm trying. I think I'm better. I think I'm better, but it is hard because, well, first of all, I'm a very controlling person anyway. A little bit, Tara, right? A little bit. I think Tara told me that once or twice. But you know, I like to know how things are gonna go.
Mhm.
That's what controlling is, right? Um, but they constantly tell me I don't get upset about things I can't control. And I'm like, that's great that you can do that. I am not quite there yet, but I'm getting better at it. And
Yeah,
it's not so much of appreciating the good and the bad. It's just knowing that there is bad. You accept that things are going to happen. It's
yeah,
inevitable. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. It's going to happen.
yeah.
And they say you can't have rainbows without the rain, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, this tension that we're talking about between feeling grateful and being worn down and all that stuff, it's not new. David even felt it. There's a psalm where he talks about his frustration, his weariness, and his sorrow, and but it still ends with praise and with thanks and trust. And it's not because his situation changed or anything. It's because he made peace, I think, within himself for both the pain and the hope. Psalm 13, verses 1 and 2, and then 5 and 6 goes, "How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me?
Mm.
How long must I counsel in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all the day? But I have trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me." And so that was Psalm 13, verses 1 and 2, and then 5 and 6. And that to me is what makes what we're talking about here like real. You don't have to pretend that everything's okay in order to hold on to your faith or your peace, right?
Mhm.
I think that David didn't edit himself before, venting his feelings to God. He was bitter, I think, and but also blessed, and he acknowledged both. He was honest, but he also trusted in in God. He trusted in the Lord and what he knew the Lord does for him and could do for him and would do for him. And I think that that is an invitation for me too to show up without needing to pick one emotion over the other one. They can be there together. So I think that growth for myself isn't choosing between joy and sorrow, thankfulness and, whatever. It's letting both of them speak and still being able to find my way forward.
Awesome.
And Leslie, you said you had a scripture?
Yes, this is one of my favorite scriptures, and it's First Peter 4 and 12 and 13. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. But rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, you may be glad also with exceeding joy. And that is to say that it encourages believers not to be surprised when they're faced with trials and tribulations. Yes, we know that we're blessed, but we also know, and I love saying that life is lifing. we know, we know that life is lifing and things happen, and God knows all. He is all knowing. And he knows what we're going to go through before we even go through it. And we still have the victory over these things. And sometimes we say that the devil is testing us. Sometimes it's God testing us and testing
Mhm.
our faith in him. And we know that when we don't pass the test, that test is going to come again until we pass it. So a lot of times, again, it's for believers not to be surprised when these trials come. and they're common for us. And this is a normal part of Christian life and our Christian walk. So for myself, this is a word, and it's a word to encourage the listeners too, that we're going to go through things, and it's okay. Those feelings of, I don't want to say doubt, but those feelings of frustration and the feelings of knowing that you're blessed, all those feelings can coexist, but always lean on faith. Always lean on faith. That's it.
Nicely
Amen.
said. Amen. So, the beauty of being human is that we're capable of feeling so many things at one time. And that doesn't make us unstable or messy or whatever. It just makes us whole. You can feel the weight of life and still move forward with joy. You can carry questions and still live with purpose. The goal isn't to erase the tension, it's to learn from it, to grow from it, and trust that both the good and the hard, or the good and the bad, are shaping something in you. Thank you for joining us today. If this conversation resonated with you, we'd love you to share with someone else who might be carrying both joy and heaviness right now. And as always, this is Unfiltered Perspectives, where real talk leads to real growth and every perspective is valued. All of them.
Except yours.
This was a great topic. I thank you for choosing this topic. It hit home for me, and I hope that it hit home for a lot of you listeners out there. And even if you were broken crayon is still color.
There you go.
Find us on the socials.
Yay. Yay.
All the socials. Find us on all the socials.
Oh yeah,
All the
and don't
socials.
forget to tune in every other Thursday and do that rate, review, share, subscribe, all that stuff so everybody else can hear us too and join in the conversation.
Yay. Peace out.
Awesome sauce. See you in 2 weeks.